on. So you don't need to go to the grocery store. Everybody's getting power outages and they're lasting a long time. And look, you could can't put these in your cellar, in your basement. You could can or pressure cook. I choose to pressure cook. And another thing, why do people have backyard gardens? I've been screaming about gardens. I meant backyard grass. Why you guys got grass? You got to cut it. You got to weed it, pollute the air, lawnmowers, when you could just put a garden back there. Everything you see here is probably everything that I can for my gardens. I've been doing this for about 5 years, so I'm getting pretty used to not going to the store. Plus, you have no clue what you're buying in their jars and cans. And so I've been doing a lot of pressure cooking, a couple things. For example, these are from 2020, and then these were from 22. And potatoes, we grew the potatoes. And here we actually put distilled water in them, and what happens here is the starch comes out. So, like for example, this one here, you'd have to drain and then wash them out. The potatoes would be fine. But this is it. This is the bomb here. Jono and I invented this. Well, I don't know if we invented it, but these are potatoes. We mixed them, and we grew all the herbs, and we fill them with herbs, and then we pressure can them dry. Then the corn, we would pick the corn the same day, and the next day we would can it. This is like 3 years old. It'll be fine. I've got some 2 year old corn. Then I even can dry goods, because when you can't, these are dry candies, so these go into the oven at 180 degrees for like 20 minutes, and it kills all the bugs, and they'll last forever. Okay, I can a lot of meats. I can sausages. I can Venice, and then of course we make our own dishes. So like here, these are stews, okay? And down here, these are tomato sauce. And then the best thing I like to do, and that's just what I love to do, is this is a vegetable broth, okay? And with the vegetable broth, what I'll do is go to my garden and pick everything that I don't want and stuff that's not looking good, and I'll throw it into my 40-quart pressure cooker. I just fill it to the top, throw a little bit of water in there, and then I'll cook it down for like 120, let's see, 90 minutes, and then I get the broth. Plus, I throw all kind of herbs in there, and if I have any older salts and things like that, or I might have some herbs from a couple years ago. They're not as fresh, and I'll throw those right in there, and I'll make a broth. And then once you have these broths, okay, and they're different. You'll never have the same broth. I'll have one with more tomatoes, one will have more vegetables. I'll throw eggplant in it. I'll throw whatever I got. And then when I make rice, I use that instead of water, so I always have like a flavored rice. Anyways, beans are always a good thing to do. I'll do all kind of beans. And these are different bean mixes. So beans with potatoes, beans with meat, and then I might use that broth, and I'll have an instant dinner in a couple minutes. And if you notice, there's like that's all broth, that's potatoes, and then I'll also do radishes. Well, radishes I don't have those here, but I do some pickling too. That's not here. But I'll do beets, and the beets are the best if you just do water, a little just a little bit of salt for a preservative, and that's it. And whenever you do this, and I do collard greens. Today I'm gonna go. I have a whole pool of dandelion, and it's not like the stuff you cut, in your yard. It's like I bought the seeds. I actually bought dandelion seeds, believe it or not. But I'll be cooking that down, and then I'll freeze it. So I do a lot of freezing too. I do a lot of dehydrating, and so I don't go to store too much. I try not to, and I try to keep the room a little or it's a tight room. I'm a big guy, and I also do a lot of dried goods, and that's not where they're at, but I put them in these containers here. And then what I'll do with these is once they're dry, I'll pack them up. And so I have a whole closet full of dried herbs for teas. I do a lot of teas. And so I'm just going live to show you that everyone's having power outages, and Everyone's calling me up. They're throwing out all their food. So, you don't want to have that much food in the freezer. I had a lot of freezers, so I decided to get rid of some freezers. I only have one freezer, big one and one small one. And so I don't have a lot of freezers anymore, only because what happens is when the power goes out, you got to throw it out. So I'd rather just keep some stuff in the freezer and then try to can and pressure cook the rest. And I may one of these days get into freeze drying, but then as you start freeze drying, it gets crazy, right? That's what the preppers do. They buy all that freeze dried stuff. The other problem is don't buy that freeze dried stuff because you have to add water to it, and you think you're going to need it because someday the world's going to end and you have to eat. Man, don't even go that route because you'll buy that stuff, waste your money. You're better off renting a rototiller for that money and rototilling in your backyard and planting and just broadcasting whatever you want to broadcast seeds out there and and just start doing it. And it takes a couple of years to get into it. And after a while, you get pretty good at it. And, you know, you got to be organized. Like this room wasn't organized. It is now. So now I could just go in there. I got little carts I have. So I could just pull the cart out. There's 4 carts back there. And I could pull out what I need instead of like before I had these big containers. I couldn't pick them up. They're too heavy. It's a really small room. I'm very limited in this house for space. So barely fit in here. But I'll tell you one thing, I didn't go to the grocery store this week. Hey, rent a rototiller, get rid of your backyard grass, plant a garden, and you'll be so happy you did. Plus, you'll be healthier. Man, you don't even know what's in the food anymore, what they're putting in the food. If you don't know what's in your medicine, you don't know what's in your whatever those things they put in your arm. You don't know. They lie to you about everything. They're burning forests down. There's fires. There's floods, power outages. Man, stay in your house. Like if they pull off another one of these things, another one of these flus that are going to hit, and they pull it off or lock us down, I'll be fine, man. I'll just stay in my house. I don't have to go out of this house. I just stay right in here, man. I got no problem. I'll just live out of here. I got enough here for a year, feed a couple people. And then as long as you do it, as long as you eat your food and you keep growing it, you always have some. And you always have a 6 month to a year's, half a year supply. You could have, by the way, when you pressure can, some of these cans are 3, 4 years old already. So you don't have to like do rice. Well, the rice is tough. You don't have to do corn every year. You just do corn one year, and then the next year you do something else, and it'll last a couple of years. Like I'm not going to do corn this year. I still got about, I don't know, 10 or 15 of these things. Maybe I will do corn. Well, it's getting towards the end of the season. And always, always only pressure can. If you're not going to grow the stuff, then you can also buy it when it's plentiful. So never, never, never buy anything that's out of season. So the peaches were just done. So we did a ton of peaches. Back there's a whole 24 peaches. That, by the way, the peaches are great for mixed drinks. Blend them up. They're great for pies, peach cobbler. You could do the same with the apples. So apples are coming up right now. So now maybe you'd be going to orchards and picking apples. A lot of people just let their apples rot. Find an apple tree, pick the apples, can them, bada boom, man. You got, but of course you got to get jars and learn a little bit, and you can learn how to do all this. Everybody that cans spends half their time teaching how to can. So I'm not going to do that. You could figure that out yourself. But the easy part's the canning, the easy part's the jarring and all that. The hard part's getting off your butt and getting a rototiller and digging up your backyard. That's the tough part. And once you do that, then you could barter with your neighbor. You could trade. I trade with people all the time. And so, anyways, thanks for coming on. This is Marco.